What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Bourbon of the Week. Do you want an opportunity to win Blanton's Gold store pick or a Weller Antique 107 store pick while simultaneously raising money for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month? Make sure you stick around for our Bourbon Bomb of the Week so you can learn how to do that. But in the meantime, let's pour up this 15 stars, timeless reserve, 13-year bourbon. That's right, folks. We have 15 stars here. This is the timeless reserved, aged 13 years. This is bottle number 1620 out of 1800. So only 1800 produced. This is not our first time dealing with 15 stars. We loved the first one, but we're going to go through it. Price, taste, drinkability. You know the rules. Let's put this through the gauntlet. We always start with drinkability. How much ethanol kick is there compared to the 103 proof? That's correct. 103 proof on this particular bottle right here. This was provided by the company. I always like to tell you that, so we're not hiding anything, but everybody knows before we get started, time for the traditional sip. Cheers, y'all. Not going to tell you yet. That's right, 15 stars, which is obviously paying homage to the fact that Kentucky was the 15th state. Right on the top here, I love this topper, by the way. Dense, heavy, it looks like a coin, and it says 1795, tells us right on the back. In 1795, the Commonwealth of Kentucky was recognized as the 15th state on the historic 15-star flag. So, let's get into this. 103 proof. This is a blend of Kentucky straight bourbon whiskeys. They're obviously all 13 years or older. I believe it's a blend of bourbon, a rye bourbon, a wheated whiskey, as well as a 15-year-old bourbon is what I remember from the conversation that I had with the owner, who, like I said, sent me this bottle. Let's get into this, though. 103 proof. How is it with drinkability? I mean, first glass of whiskey for the night. I wouldn't quite call this the neck pour. I've had a pour or two out of this, but it has been open for a little while as well. At 103 proof, I mean, I'm not expecting a big Kentucky hug, but at the same time, sometimes those older whiskeys, sometimes they proof it out when it gets a little bit over, but sometimes it opens it up to a little bit more ethanol to me. This one is not one of those instances. I got to tell you, for 103 proof, I don't know where I would blind this. That's always tough. When we're in those lower proofs, right? If it's 130 and it drinks like 120, that's pretty impressive. But 103 drinking like 93 is kind of unheard of. So the proof point drop as you get lower, I feel like needs to be less to impress me more. 103 that drinks like 96 is still even impressive to me. So let's take one more sip and then we'll give you a score when it comes to drinkability. If I'm going to be honest with myself, I would blind this at 100 proof, but only because not a lot of stuff out there is, right, 96, 97, 98 proof, right? So when I round things out, like in those proof ranges, once you're up in the 120s, you can say it's 123, you can say it's 125, because normally it's cask strength, so they're leaving it at whatever it comes out at. That being said, at this proof, like 103, sure, I might say it's 103, but I would probably just guess 100 so I can be in the range. But I don't know, maybe I would say this is like, if I had to give you like an exact number, I would say it's like 97 proof. So we're definitely down there when it comes to proof. I'm going to put it, we give it a 7.0 if it drinks right at its proof. Again, the proof points difference at this particular proof seems like it should be closer to those 8s. So I'm going to go like 8.13 when it comes to drinkability on this. Again, compared to other things at 103 proof, no real ethanol kick. And as you know, up next we get a taste on this, and I gotta tell you, it feels like recently a lot of whiskeys have been getting back into the whiskey world. Not to say that double oaking is gimmicky, not to say that finished whiskey is gimmicky, but bourbon is what I fell in love with for strictly being that, just bourbon. Rye is something that I've started to fall in love with for being rye. So for this particular glass to taste like a straight bourbon and to taste like a damn good one is very impressive. There's a cherry bomb on this that I only usually get on something that's 120 proof plus, and I get it on this, and I love that. There's a buttery caramel note on this, there's a vanilla note on this, and then there's like a banana note that I usually equate with something from Jack Daniels. It's very fine, it's in the background, it's hidden back there, but it's still delicious and I still like it a lot. Obviously this is Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, so there's no Jack Daniels in this, although we don't know who they're sourcing from. But this right here, again, it's just a bourbon drinker's bourbon, and I absolutely love it. And the thing about this particular glass is normally at 13 years, I start to get worried about it being over oaked, right? Russell's Reserve 13 was something that I hunted for a very long time. I finally got my hands on it. It was too oaky. I believe it was batch number 3. It had 20-year whiskey in it. It was just too oaky for me. Elijah Craig 18-year. I just can't do it. There's too much oak behind it. There is oak on this. There's tobacco on this. There's a little bit of an herbal note to this as well at the very end. But I will tell you, it doesn't dominate the glass. I still get all of those other notes leading up to that. And then when I get to that, I don't think all those notes are gone. I still get them. It's very complex. There's some chocolate on the end of this as well, which I think brings it back into that sweetness at the end of this glass, and the finish is forever. Again, everything about this glass is exactly what I love about whiskey, and I gotta tell you, we're gonna take one more sip, then we'll give it a score when it comes to taste. I mean, it's pretty obvious we're going into the 9s. It's just a matter of how high we want to go. I don't think it's above a 9.5. I don't think we've had anything this year that's been a 9.5. We're talking like Wild Turkey Unforgotten when we're talking 9.5s. We're going to do Russell's Reserve 15 next week, and I'm curious if that can get up there because a lot of people are hyping that bottle up as well. So we're curious where that can go, but I will say, I think like 9.24 seems like a fair spot for this. I just don't really see what else you could give me flavor-wise that I'm going to enjoy more than this. Maybe a little bit more sweetness. So again, I love sweet whiskeys. There's a lot of sweetness on this, do not get me wrong, but some of the sweetness that I love includes like those dark fruit notes or those bright fruit notes. I don't really get a lot of too much fruit on this, but everything else that I do get on this is absolutely fantastic. So 9.24 is where we're going to put it when it comes to taste. And this is where things get a little bit tough, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more during this week's price, because I got to tell you, we don't usually go too in depth with price. And by the way, the fact that I'm pouring up another glass just tells you how much I like this, because I'm trying not to pour 2 glasses for one review. But I will tell you, $275 MSRP, but let's talk about it real quick. Let's talk about it. We're actually going to talk about this during our next Bourbon Bomb of the Week, and instead of doing our Bourbon Bomb of the Week, we're going to do my thoughts on what I've been thinking. But let's talk about price real quick. What justifies you spending the prices on bourbon or on whiskeys that you spend? So like, what makes a scotch more valuable to you? Is it because you enjoy it more? Is it because there's a name brand behind that particular bottle? And I'm just using scotch as an example because sometimes it's usually more expensive than bourbon. Bourbon is considered the cheaper of the whiskey, although today I could argue that every day of the week. But this right here, we're talking Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. I obviously don't know who they're sourcing from, but I'm assuming they're using some of the heritage distillery stuff because it's 13 years. So it's not like they're using craft distillery whiskey, and there's 15 year in here as well. So we've got 1,800 bottles, so it's a limited release. We've got fine aged bourbon at 13 years. We've got Kentucky most likely heritage stuff. So what justifies you spending that money on that and on this? So again, a lot of people will go out and they'll drop $250 on Russell's Reserve, but then complain about $250 or $275 on this particular bottle right here. And it's where I'm at in my mind right now too, because I don't want to get too deep into this because again, we're going to talk about it next week. Let's just talk about this. 13 and 15-year-old whiskey at $275. Is it really that bad? Aren't we in that market right now where that's kind of, I don't know, the price point? Here's another facet to the game that I didn't even think about until I talked to the gentleman that sent me this bottle. They don't just sell to you and me, right? They're not just selling to the guys on the street that are walking into fine wine and good spirits or your local liquor store. They can put these on the shelves at premium whiskey bars. And I think that's where this bottle belongs. If I walked into the bar and I didn't know anything about this bottle and I was a big bourbon guy and I said, yo, tell me about that 15 stars up there, 13 years, timeless age. They got all the buzzwords you need on here, right? Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. They got the bottle number, out of bottle number, 15 stars, the spirit of 1795, the story on the back. I mean, everything about this tells you that you're supposed to look at this bottle, pick it up and try a glass of it. All the way down to this is a marriage of 2 fine aged bourbons aged 13 and 15 years, a fitting tribute to over 225 years of Kentucky bourbon craftsmanship. Bourbon that stands the test of time. So again, it's not their whiskey, but they're obviously using good whiskey in this. So what justifies a $275 price tag? I don't know. You would have to ask yourself that. But if this was sitting in the bar, I've never had it. I was a big bourbon enthusiast and I saw and somebody was like, yeah, it's $20 for a pour. I'd probably pour it up just out of curiosity. So we give it a 7.0 if it's an average tasting whiskey at an average drinkability at an average price of $75 to $90. This is above average when it comes to drinkability. It's way above average when it comes to taste. And that's the other part in my mind going on is I love this actual bottle. So again, if I walked into a bar, I tried it, I fell in love with it, and then I saw it at $270. Now that I've had it, I'd buy it at $275. Me personally, I would go out and buy this bottle again at $275. If I didn't have it, I could see where people would kind of hold back, right? $275, that's a lot. I know other 13-year-old, there's 10-year-old stuff on the market. What is Baker's 13 going for these days? Probably up there, you know what I mean? So it's not out of the question. So again, I'm going to tell you my score when it comes to price. 7.0 is average, $75 to $90 is above average on everything else. I'm going to say it's like I'm going to give it an 8.1. 8.10, because again, given the current market, I don't think it's out of the question to pay that for this particular bottle. But listen, while I add these scores up, let's send it over to this week's Bourbon Bomb of the Week. Talk about how you can win a couple bottles in my collection, as well as a bunch of other bottles. I'm going to show you the entire list, and you can help raise money for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Let's do it. That's right, if you did not know, and I'm sure you do, September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and I have been personally affected by childhood cancer because my niece was diagnosed with childhood cancer, and she is on her 4th year of remission, and we cannot wait for that 5th year to officially declare her cancer-free. But that's not all. In 2005, my wife lost her cousin to leukemia, and recently they started a foundation in his name, the Stephen Crow Legacy Foundation, and partnered with CureSearch to raise money to help childhood cancer. Now, I have a link down below to my particular CureSearch fundraiser. You can go there, you can donate directly to that, or you can enter in our raffle, and I'll show you how you can do that. For just $10, you can get 1 ticket. For $25, you can get 3 tickets. For $50, you can get 7 tickets. And for $100, you can get 15 tickets or entries, whatever you want to call them. And we are giving away all of the bottles that you are about to see on screen right now. That's right, we've partnered with some other influencers as well as my patrons to put together this amazing list of bottles that you can win. And again, even if you don't win, you know you're donating 100% of these proceeds to childhood cancer, and what could be better than that? So all you have to do to enter is my Venmo in the link in the description below. Venmo me the amount of money that you want for the entries that you want. Make sure you put your name, your phone number, as well as your email, and make it private just so everybody else doesn't have your information. On September 30th at 6 p.m., we will go live here on YouTube. We will randomize the names that have entered. We will randomize the bottles that we have, and we will pick one name, and that will go against bottle number 1. If you happen to pick 3 entries and you win 1 bottle, you will still have 2 entries left. So if you have 3 entries, you could win up to 3 bottles. We will just take that 1 entry out, and you still have 2 other opportunities to win. So I hope you see this video before September 30th and you buy some entries. Blanton's Gold is obviously our big giveaway because gold is the color of the ribbon for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. I hope you guys can help me out with this. Cheers, y'all. Listen, I hope everybody buys hundreds of tickets. I'm just a competitive guy by nature, but I found out on CureSearch, you can see all the other teams raising money for the Stephen Crow Legacy Foundation. I haven't donated any yet because it's all in my Venmo or it's all part of other fundraisers that I've done. So I got a bunch of money collected, but I am so competitive that I do not want to be number 2 on that list. Number 1, right? Shake and bake. If you're not first, you're last. But listen, this bottle came in at an 8.49, which is a fantastic spot for it. I know what you're all thinking. $275 is probably too rich for your blood, but listen, if you have an opportunity and you see this at a bar, which is where I think they're putting these bottles more often than not, I would definitely recommend trying it and then deciding if you want to drop the money on it or not. But listen, for me personally, this is a fantastic bottle of whiskey. If I see another one of these, I think they used to have a 14-year-old one as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, 15 stars. But if I ever see any of them at this price point, I will definitely be picking them up. I don't know. I don't think there's a true secondary market for these. So I'm hoping they're not too much higher than that if I really want to find one. But hey, I appreciate you guys stopping by. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button if you learned anything in today's video. Make sure you check me out on Instagram at Bourbon of the Week. My pinned post will give you more information if you didn't hear everything in the Bourbon Bomb of the Week about donating to the Stephen Crow Legacy Foundation. Make sure you check me out on TikTok. That link in the description below as well. Please don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly. Oh, Discord and Patreon. Those are also on there as well. Description below. You know where to find them. Please don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly. Stay healthy, stay happy, and stay trying bourbons that you might not see on the shelf every day. Cheers, y'all.